What is a bliss soft life, and how can we live more of it? My guest today is a women's empowerment coach. She's also a legal assistant and a mother of one. And we get into a few different things: how to find time for a side hustle, how to build resiliency and self love, what is a bliss soft life, and how to overcome negative self talk. I'm Anthony Franzese. This is the Successful Working Parents podcast, where we learn from busy working parents how they're able to balance it all and still thrive. Thank you for listening. On to the show. Welcome back to the Successful Working Parents podcast, the podcast where we talk to successful working parents, if you can believe that. My guest today, she is a patent. Oh, sorry. My guest today, she is a patent legal assistant. She's a women's empowerment coach, mother of one. Ladies and gentlemen, Kathy.mou. Kathy, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and it's such an honor.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Thank you for joining us. So usually we just start off with a little background on your career, if you'd share that.
Yes, so I actually have a 9 to 5 job right now, which I do. I think I've been doing this for at least 10 years now. I'm a patent legal assistant. So I help attorneys with patent work. And then on the side, I have my own business, which is being an empowerment coach. And I just love life coaching. I think that really is my life purpose.
Awesome. And you have one daughter, is that correct?
Yes, she is a year and a half.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit more about your coaching practice. When did you start doing that?
I started doing it in 2021, but I've been coaching pretty much my whole life, and I just never knew it was coaching people and their life issues because during, as a kid or whatever, my friends and family always went to me for advice or to have somebody listen. And so when the pandemic started in 2020, life coaching kind of blew up, and I that's how I figured out, like, oh, life coaching is a thing. Like, you can actually coach people in life. And so I looked into it, got my certification with health and life coaching, and then that's when I started my business.
So working a full-time job and being a mom and then starting a business on the side is a lot of things to do. So how have you made time to do all that?
Yes, it's a lot. I'm not going to lie. It was overwhelming at first when she was born, but luckily I had maternity leave, and during that time I was able to give myself space and time because I during that time I pumped a lot. So when I was pumping, I was working on my business and, doing that. So instead of taking my time away from her, which I already had to during pumping sessions, I worked on my business. And so now I have to balance it through, during the day, I obviously work my 9 to 5, but then like before or even after or during lunch hours, like what we're doing right now, I get to take a break and have my lunch and work on my business. And so I don't make excuses. I make time if I really want something achievable or if I really want that to happen in my life.
So what tips do you have for the audience to find that work-life balance and to find time to pursue things on the side?
Yeah, so if you really have enough passion, right? Like, if you really want something, we make a lot of excuses, even with our health, right? Like, if you want to eat healthy and you don't want to make time for your health, then you're not going to do it. So, this is something I'm very passionate about. So, if you really love something in life, make time for it. Don't make excuses. So, for example, um, it's hard to really figure out your schedule. Really find time. What is the best time for you? Is it in the morning or is it at night? Right? Your kid's not always, I mean, yes, my kid's always with me, but she naps. So right now she's napping, you know? So take time. Take at least 30 minutes every day or whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be like 2 to 5 hours. And, you can always have a strategy. You have to put out a plan of what you really want to. And a lot of people kind of just go blindly into doing something. Make a plan out. Like, what do you want to work on? Are you trying to do your socials or are you trying to, do your email list? Like, what is the message that you really want and what's the result? So it's really hard to sit down and do it, but you're going to have to do that boring, hard work in the beginning. And when you have that set plan, then kind of follow through with it and then give yourself a little bit of time every day to do it. And if you have more time and you can go back to it, then, so be it. But right, it's kind of crazy when you have kids. It just depends on their schedule, but there are days where you have more time and there are days where you have less, and be okay with that.
Yeah. One of the concepts you talk a lot about in your coaching is this idea of a bliss soft life or a
Yes.
BS life.
Yes.
Could you speak a little bit more about that?
Yes. So this is a concept that really came to me, I think last year. I was just having coffee, but then I've been listening to a lot of, you know, thought leaders, etc. And I've been trying to change my mindset to a growth mindset. And so this concept came to me, and I finally am living like a such a blissful life because during your hard times, I went through infertility. So my infertility days gave me a lot of depression and anxiety, and then always focusing on other people and focusing on work, like my 9 to 5 job, and not getting fulfilled at all. So finally working on my business and finally having my child, I was able to live a more blissful life. So I was like, oh, I've learned so much through that dark times, and now I'm coaching people through living how to live a more blissful life. And when you're living a blissful life, your life is more soft, meaning it's less overwhelming. You're not stressed out all the time. You kind of trust in the universe, source, power, etc. So it's tapping into, more of your spiritual side as well, and getting into that. And then you know that you're this powerful being and you get to live this bliss soft life, which, a lot of people, for example, live it. Like monks, for example, live a bliss soft life, or thought leaders, or like, people like Jay Shetty. I feel like Mel Robbins is one of these type of people where they're really living in their true authentic path. And when they do, they see all the success and happiness and joy in their life.
So, like, why bliss soft instead of bliss just blissful? Is a soft a big component of it?
Yes, I believe that, we're always talking, because as a society, we always talk about hard. Like everything's so hard. I bet you, like, growing up, you've always said this term hard a lot. So I want to change the narrative. I want people to change that perspective. Like, no, life doesn't have to be hard. It can be soft. And when you think of softness, right? Like, I want people to change that perspective. Like bliss, yes, right? But then people don't know how to get to that bliss. You have to live that soft life to get to that bliss, and a lot of people don't know how to do that.
So you mentioned going through some hard times. I think resiliency is a really interesting topic, mainly because the only way to really build it is to actually deal with hard stuff. So, how do you help other people build their resiliency, and maybe some stories about how you were able to build your own?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for asking that. So, building resilience, I didn't understand what that term really is, right? Resilience is being able to push yourself and know that you can overcome anything, even when it's so hard and you feel like, you can't ever get out of it. But, building resilience is what's going to get you out of it. So, this is what I teach a lot of my clients how to do, because a lot of us lack self confidence and self love. And when you do, you feel like you can't accomplish anything, right? And as a woman, we're more prone to not love ourselves and to really have confidence to accomplish what we want in life. We're like, no, 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 we can't do that. We can't do that. So when I went through infertility, I really thought I was never going to become a mom, even though I wanted it so bad. But I grew up having to work at my parents' fast food restaurant, so I knew and saw how hard my parents worked as a kid. So I knew I was resilient in a different way, where, I can do tasks really fast, talk to other people, because it's skills that I learned at a young age. But with infertility, I was like, no, this can't be. But actually, you can be resilient in anything that you do. And so my example of my infertility journey, it's up to, right, God or source to give you a child or not. And so at the time I had a victim mindset, like, oh, I'm never going to get what I want. God hates me, life sucks. And when I knew that this was not the right mindset to have, and I started empowering myself, I ended up learning, like, okay, let's do everything in my power to make sure that do that I can say that I tried having this kid, right? So I changed my diet, I worked out, I stopped drinking alcohol, like, I went to therapy. I got all the help that you can get, and I even went through IVF. And in the end result, I actually got my kid naturally. So, you know, that resilience of me wanting to change and to make sure, like, okay, I did everything in my power, and if it's up to God or source, then okay. But I knew that I could come out of it, and it takes mindset. It takes, your mind to really want to change. And I believe that I had so much confidence in myself that at least I said I could try, then I just kept going, if that makes sense.
So do you think that people lack resilience because they lack self-love?
Yes, absolutely. They lack so much self love. And for example, I lacked that so much because I'm a people pleaser. I grew up thinking that my life purpose was to make others happy, and like their happiness made me happy. And that's how I live my life growing up. I know it's a weird perspective, but we're grown. I was taught to people please, and that's what I was doing for a lot of my life. But when I went through infertility, I became selfish. I learned to take care of myself, put myself first. So I lacked a lot of self love. So I learned to love myself. I had to take care of my body, to be able to have the optimal health to carry a child, right? Think about that. So it starts from within, it starts from me. And then I got therapy to get help with my mental health as well, and to help me get through this hard time. So I think self love is the biggest piece that we lack. And most of us lack self love, which equals lack of self confidence, which equals not able to live the life that you want.
Yeah. I always had this theory that one of the secrets of life is to have like just enough deal with just enough hardship that it makes you resilient and it like builds you up, but like not enough that it just like traumatizes you. But it's hard to like how do you really pick like the perfect amount of adversity to deal with, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I think we're all living our own life purpose, our life path, right? So we're all these amazing soul beings, and we do have something like already a contract per se of like what we want to experience in this human body, in this reality that we call, reality now. And so God or source gives you a perfect amount of what you need to learn so you can overcome it, and pushes you in the right direction to get the result that you want to learn, or etc., and gain perspective of in life.
So you think it's all sort of pre-chosen or preordained in some way?
Yes, I believe so. I really do. Um, I'm starting to get more in a spiritual journey per se, and it started with my infertility journey. But I really believe that it is kind of predestined. Some certain things, like big certain events in your life, will happen because it's supposed to teach you a certain lesson to get to an outcome of what you've kind of wanted to learn, again in this lifetime.
Yeah. I like the idea of I've heard of like, you're kind of like up there somewhere and sort of choosing, okay, next time I'm going to be this, I'm going to know this person, this is going to happen to me. It's not necessarily like linear, like every life is a slightly better one. It's just sort of like choosing different experiences. I think that's an
Yeah.
interesting thing to think about. I don't know. Obviously,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not, but it's an interesting concept.
Yes, I know, but it's ultimately what you want to believe in, and if you believe in something greater, or like greater source, doesn't it make more sense, and doesn't make you feel better that like there's more to life than just what we see? And so when you see life being so hard, you're just like, man, am I ever gonna get out of this? Like, you just, your mind and your view and perception of life is just so much smaller. Instead, it could be so much more if you just open your mind and be open to it. That's it.
Yeah. 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 It's interesting. Going back to a bliss soft life. So, what are some things that people can do to live a more bliss soft life?
Yes, so we kind of already touched upon this, which is self love. So please start people like I always tell people to love yourself. And a lot of people get this confused with self care practices, right? So, self care things are like getting massages, eating nutrient dense foods, going for exercise, right? Like these are all self care things. But self love is a different part of the emotional aspect that we all lack. So, you have a kid, so you love your child so much. I'm sure you love your wife, your family, right? That love, we
Oh,
lack
yes.
that love for ourselves. Like, why do we not give that to us? I feel like as a society, we are the worst to ourselves. Like we're the harshest to ourselves, right? So you need to give that love back to yourself daily, all the time. And this is what I want to teach my daughter to have a lot of self love. Growing up, I was not taught self love, right? Like as an Asian American, yes, my parents love us, but in a different way, you know?
Yeah. What else besides self love is important?
Self love and having a mindset, like a strong mindset, like being open minded again, having that, knowing that, things can be different and wanting to learn and grow. And so a lot of us take for granted education in a sense. Like, I'm not talking about school education. Like, yes, that helps in certain things, but it's not all. We have free amount of information everywhere now, right? With the internet. Like, you can learn about anything. So, I always teach people to open your mind and try to learn other people's perspectives, and to know that when you like think about it from different perspectives or from different people, you will learn more, you will grow more, and then your life will start changing too. Because when you see different, like five different perspectives, and think about it, there's like 8 billion people on this planet, right? And so we each have our own perception of life. Every single one of us. Not one person will have the same perception of life. So think about how many different perceptions there are. But then yet we always like have like pretty basic five perceptions in life that everybody thinks that they should be like living that type of perception. Say, we follow the news. So everybody's like, oh my God, this is negative. Like, right? Or they're like looking at celebrity things, or other people's lives. So like that's the mass majority focused on these things, but individually, right, they still perceive that differently. Everybody still perceives whatever we're taught differently. So when you see that in that perspective, you're like, holy crap, there's 8 billion different views in life. So I want people to know that, you should be more like open minded and trusting that, and just be kinder, I guess, in that sense, where when you see that perception, you should be kind and just know, like, okay, they've had their own outcome in life or whatever they've gone through, so they see things differently than you, and be okay with it. So I feel like a lot of us feel attacked for some reason, right? So like they always think, okay, you're attacking me because of, you know, or or talking badly about one another. I think that's the big thing that we do in our society, is to talk negatively, and it's a lot, right? And in social media.
So, when somebody has negative, even negative self talk, right? Or they just like don't feel good about themselves. What are some of the things that you suggest that they do to get rid of that negative self talk and start to practice that self love? Because sometimes it's just not as easy as like, oh, you have to love yourself, right?
Yes, exactly. So, you know, doing little daily practices like talking nicely to yourself, saying affirmations. Like, yes, you don't feel it at first, but when you talk nicely to yourself, and think about it, everything is energy. So, when you're talking negatively to yourself, that's what you're attracting. So, even if you change the narrative and you speak to yourself kindly, like, man, you are powerful or amazing, and you keep doing it every single day, you're changing your subconscious mind, you're changing your mindset, And so that will help you. And everything's through consistency, right? So you always have to keep doing it to see something change in your life. It's not going to be a one time thing, right? So if you've been talking so negatively to yourself for like ever since your childhood, obviously it's going to take some time to change that narrative in your mind. So start saying affirmations, kind words to yourself. Start giving yourself hugs. This is what I tell people all the time. Look at yourself in the mirror, give yourself a hug, and say nice words and feel the good vibrational sensations that you get from just hugging yourself. And, there are studies that say the human body needs at least like 20 seconds a day of hugs. So why can't you do that for yourself? Raise your vibration, be kind to yourself, and it's okay. And I feel like another piece is really be in tune with your health. So what you put in your mouth is how you're kind of treating yourself, like you feel like you're not deserving of something. I so a food has a correlation with your emotions. So get in tune with your emotions. A lot of people overeat, etc., because they have a lot of emotional aspect to it. Even when people don't eat, right? It's because they lack that confidence or they have some emotional aspect of themselves that they need to dive deeper in.
Mm. I'm gonna start hugging myself and saying
Yes.
nice words to myself, and not give my wife any context, and just see what she like. See her response the first time I start hugging myself.
Oh my gosh, I would love that. And let me know what she says.
I will. I will. Could you share a success story or a transformation story, someone that you've worked with that just you've seen like a really dramatic change?
Yes. So I have a client. She has been working with me for 2 years and off and on. So it's been a tough journey for her, honestly. She's went from being like this boss lady, super powerful, like, super confident, to now not being where she wants in life. Like she is the lowest point at like, that she can be. And so she's now on the opposite spectrum of being depressed because she doesn't have the life that she wants of being a mother, like having the spouse that she wants. And so she feels like she's a failure. Uh, Being, I guess, 32 now, 33. So she feels like she's behind. She doesn't have family, kids, etc. So it's kind of hard to coach somebody when they're depressed because it takes a lot longer, right? They're stuck in this mental state of like the victim mindset. Everything's against me, everything sucks. But this is why consistency is so important. So coaching someone once a week helps, remind them of like how powerful they are. So we talk through like what's going on in that week, how to overcome it. And when you even just talk to somebody about your emotions and the mental state that you're in, it helps you feel better. So just releasing that out of your body, out of your system helps. And then I have told her like little practices to do, like self-love, self-care things, and we work on like changing that mindset about loving herself. And so now she is not depressed anymore after working with me like 3 months consistently about adding self-love into her life. And she couldn't even look at how beautiful the sun was. Like it was morning time and there was like birds chirping and she was just like not even enjoying life, and it was so sad to see how defeated she was. But now she's like going out with friends, she's met new friends, she's going back to church and being her social self that she has been. Of course it takes time, but you have to help remind how powerful people are. They just forget through the tough times when they do go through tough times. So it's beautiful to see her journey. And yes, she has not gotten her life yet, but I know she will. And she's going in the right direction where she's working on herself first. And I told her, once you work on yourself, then you will have the life of like your family, your kids come to you when she's ready for it.
Awesome. Appreciate you sharing that. We are going to move into the final segment now called Kathy's Advice Corner. So I'm going to ask you for some advice on a few topics. Okay, you ready?
Awesome. Yes.
First question: what advice do you have for somebody who is about to be a parent but still has a career they want to focus on?
Oh, so yes, just take time for yourself first and your career will always be there. So, if you're feeling overwhelmed in your career right now, know that it will be there. And if you really want that, you will still obtain it. But having a kid is one of the most beautiful things that you will ever experience. And they're little babies, and one day they will grow up so fast, and then you'll still have your career, right? That career will never go away, but your kid may or may not go away one day, right? So savor that motherhood or fatherhood, and know that the career will be there. And trust me, you will be able to balance both. And I'm balancing three things right now. Like I said, I was overwhelmed in the very beginning because I didn't know what I was doing. But through time, you will figure out a system. You will figure out that time if you really want to put in the work.
What advice do you have for a working parent that longs to build something on the side and develop a side hustle or build up a business so they could grow one day?
So figure out what you really like. So, you know, for me, it was coaching. And then through time, I didn't really know what I really wanted to coach. So I started my business off just coaching people with like health issues, meaning like losing weight, etc. That didn't give me a lot of passion, right? And I finally figured out like a couple years into my coaching business, it led me into empowerment coaching. And that lit me up, and that correlated with my Bliss soft life concept. But really figure out what you really love doing. And a lot of us don't do this. I think a lot of us think that we should do a certain thing because everybody else is doing that, if that makes sense. So you kind of trick yourself into thinking you're supposed to be coaching or doing whatever, entrepreneurship you want. But make sure it's something that you're passionate about, that you really, really know that you're going to be lit up when you do this work, because it's going to be a lot of time and effort that you put into it. And so know that in the very beginning, it's a lot of work. But if you're truly happy with, seeing the outcome that you can get, and there is something like, you believe is your life purpose, or if you're helping other people, that will keep you going.
What is the best advice you've ever received?
Oh, um, I've got a lot of many advice, but I think one of the best advice I got was to really find joy and happiness with what I'm doing. And at first I was like, what do you mean? Okay, like everybody always says, how do you find, happiness and joy? That's so simple and simplistic, but it's actually not. Like I said before, right? I knew that I liked helping people, right? So I was like, okay, I can do coaching, but what was passionate about that, right? More than that. So what actually lit me up, what actually makes me truly happy. So what truly made me happy was when I was in the coaching sessions and I was able to change someone's life, right? So like you kind of dive in deeper of truly what makes that happy or makes you happy. So figure that out. And once you do, like, now I feel like I can just do this forever. And it's kind of like my entrepreneurship or my business is something fun for me.
Yeah. What advice would you give to your former self?
Stop being so hard on myself. Everything actually works out the way it needs to be. And I always think about the future, and I never live in the present moment. So honestly, I just want to tell my former self, just live in the present moment, because everything will work out.
All right, last question. When this episode comes out, my daughter will be about 10 months old. So, what advice do you have for me as a father of a 10-month-old?
Aw, 10 month. Oh, that's a fun stage. She's about to walk soon, or she's crawling right now.
Yeah, she's
Um,
starting to move a little bit.
Aw, yes. Take as much videos and spend as much time as you can, because seriously, time goes by so fast. And I know all these parents keep saying that until you actually have a little one. And this is why we always say like months, because 10 months or 12 months is a huge difference. Yeah. So
Yeah.
seriously, savor the time with her and just record as much as you can, because one day she won't be there and you're just going to have those videos to watch. So now I look back and I'm like, wow, she's so different from when she was 10 months. Like she
Yeah.
was crawling. And then now she's a year and a half. She's jumping off the couch, screaming at me and being wild. So they
Oh boy.
change so fast.
Yeah.
And just try to picture how she is now.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, Kathy, this has been a great conversation. Where can people go to learn more about you or connect with you? Anything that you'd like to share or promote?
Yes, so people can check me out at my website at www.kathy.mou.com. You can find me and DM me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Kathy.mou. And then Facebook and TikTok is Kathy.mou without the dot.
Awesome. I'll link to all that in the show notes.
Awesome.
Kathy.mou, ladies and gentlemen. Kathy, thank you so much.
Thank you.